Hello, thank you for your interest in this course. I'm Firebelly. I'm the creator of 3 previous Godot courses, as well as the creator of Gunforged, which sold over 2,000 copies on Steam. And I don't say that to toot my own horn, I say that just to introduce myself as somebody who has credentials building games in the Godot engine. Before we get into the Godot setup, let's take a look at the game that we're going to be building. This game is a small arcadey top-down twin-stick shooter with a basic upgrade system and a basic round system that can be easily extended by you when the course is done. As you can see in the footage here, I'm playing online with my friend Bad Banana, and this is connected directly to my PC from over the network. So you're going to be able to play over the internet with anyone of your choosing, and you and the other player will be sharing the same experience. So now that you've seen what we're going to be building, the first thing to do is to download Godot. So if you go to godotengine.org, or you can just search for Godot Engine in your favorite search engine, just go ahead and click on this download latest. For this course, I'll be using 4.4.1, but if you use any version greater than 4.4, you should be fine. So go ahead and click the download latest here, and we just want to download the blue highlighted one here. Once that's downloaded, extract the zip to your preferred location and go ahead and open up the executable file, and that will bring you to the Godot Project Manager. And as this suggests, this is where you can manage your projects. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a new project here. So let's create new project. In this window here, I'm going to call this 2D multiplayer course, but you can feel free to call this whatever you like. And I'm also going to edit the project path here. So you can click the browse button to set your path, which I will do right now. Okay, so I've set my path to this, and I'm also going to change this just so that it has proper casing. Again, this is not super important, but just put the project somewhere on your drive that you feel comfortable with. And then we have the renderer options here. I'm going to be using Forward Plus, which is a Vulkan-enabled renderer. Now, if your system does not support the Vulkan rendering API, you can also use compatibility mode here, which uses the OpenGL 3 backend. I would only recommend turning this on if you have troubles running the project or the editor in Forward Plus mode. This version control metadata can be set to whatever you like. I will be using Git to back up my project, but I'm not going to be teaching how to use Git in this series. If you know how to use Git, then I would definitely recommend setting that up once you've got the project created. And we'll leave the edit now checked and we can go to create. After a short delay, you'll be brought into the Godot editor here. And we're just going to do a quick orientation around the Godot editor before we actually get into writing any code or setting up any scenes. So you've got various dock panels all around the screen here, which can be resized as you like. This is our scene inspector, which will be used eventually when we start creating scenes. Again, this is just the first lesson. We'll get into all this as we start actually creating the game. It opens in the 3D editor by default, but you can change to the 2D editor by clicking this 2D button up at the top. We've also got a script tab. This is where we'll be editing all of our scripts as we create them. This game tab is where your game will actually be run inside of the editor. And asset library is just an online collection of assets that you can include in your Godot project. We will not be using that at all. We'll basically just be sticking to the 2D mode and the script mode up here. And we've got various other tabs in these panels here. Import has import settings for various assets, which we will also cover. We've got different node properties here that will appear as we edit nodes. We've got a history, which keeps a running history of every change that we've made in the project. And file system, which is our typical file system. This is where we'll be able to browse all of our scripts and scene files, etc. Down here, we've got various tabs. This is our output tab. This is where any debug logs will get printed. We also have a debugger, which will show us errors, and we also have various profilers here, which obviously we have no need of just yet. We've got audio bus layouts, and then there's some other tabs here which will be relevant as we get further along. If you'd like to rearrange anything, you can click the dots menu in any of these docks, and you can adjust the dock position. So if you want to lay out anything in a different way, feel free to do that. And you can also drag the tabs and move things around if you like to do that. I'm just going to keep everything at default for now, but if you ever see my editor layout change, just know that it's because I changed the dock positions here. You can also use this make floating button to bring the docks out into a separate window in case you prefer that. I don't really like that workflow. I like to keep everything as part of the same editor window, but that's basically it. So now, before we close out this lesson, let's just go ahead and create a new scene, and we will see if we can actually run the game. So I'm going to go to click Other Node here, and we're just going to make this a node of type Node 2D. And we're just going to select this base node at the top here. And I'll get into what nodes are and how they work in following lessons. But for now, just go ahead and add this node here. And let's call it main, so you can double click to rename a node, or you can right click and hit rename, or you can hit F2. So all of those options will work for renaming. And I'm just going to call this main, hit Control S to save. And we're just going to save that in the root res // directory. This can be viewed as the root of your project. It's a special Godot type of path with which you can reference scenes and assets and so on. But you will see this quite frequently in the Godot editor itself. This just means that we're at the root directory where the project is. So let's click save. And then I'm going to go and click the play button up here, which is in the top right. You can also hit F5 to run the project. I'm going to click play. This is going to say that we have not defined a main scene. So when we click play in Godot, Godot needs to know which scene to load up first. And a scene is what we just created. So this main.tscn, this is a scene file. And a scene file just contains a hierarchy of nodes. In this case, our scene file contains only one node that's called main. Again, we'll get into how scenes work and what nodes exactly are and what they do in future lessons. But for now, let's go back and click the play button, and we'll just say select current, and that's going to set main to our main scene. So we'll select current, and you should get this window here, and it should just be a gray window. So if that's looking good, let's do one other thing to check that we've got our project set up correctly, and that is we're going to add a script. So select this main node here in your main scene. And if you ever accidentally close the main scene, you can just go to your file system down here and double click that to open it back up. Go back to main. Let's click this attach new or existing script button that's right in the toolbar here. And we are just going to leave everything by default here. So we're going to click create. And that should open up your GDScript file inside of the editor here. So again, we're at the script tab now. If you ever need to go back to the 2D context, again, that button is up here. So we'll go back to script. And what we need to do is there is a method or a function called _ready that you can override in a certain sense that will be called when the node is ready. So it looks like this, func_ready. And in here, we're just going to write print hello world. Okay. And again, since this course is more geared toward intermediate developers, I'm not going to go over programming concepts. So I expect that you have at least some familiarity with programming. So if I skip over things related to programming a little bit quickly, that's why. So again, this ready method is going to be called when the node is ready, basically when it's inside of the scene tree. And we should see the print hello world show up in our output here. So I know I'm introducing a lot of new concepts right now, but trust me when I say that all of these things are going to be made clearer with time. Obviously, I can't hit all of the important things in the first lesson, so we're going to be gradually introducing and expanding upon these things as we build the game. So it's okay to feel a little bit lost already, especially if you're brand new to Godot. That is perfectly normal, perfectly fine. And things will make more sense as the lessons continue. Anyway, let's go ahead and run the project here. And we're going to see that same gray screen, except now if we go on over to our output tab, we should see hello world. So there you go. You've created your very first scene with your very first Godot script, or maybe you've used Godot before, I don't know. But if you're new to Godot, there you go. You've got your first Hello World script. This is something that I personally do too, even every time I create a new project. I just want to make sure that everything has been set up correctly and the project builds and runs before I get too far into developing the actual game. So there you go. That's basic Godot setup and orientation, as well as your first scene and script. Like I said, in the following lessons, we'll be building on these concepts and starting to introduce our player character.